Hey guys, today we will talk about the character from the Blood of Dawnwalker who somewhat represents the legacy of the Roman Empire and, I suppose, transfers it into the game. Once a senator, now a monster, Brencis is still hungry for power. I will theorize what his figure means and predict his motivation and psychological profile based on his concept art and the bits of lore that we have already learned from the official sources. Let's start talking. In the crumbling twilight of the Roman Empire, where ambition and decadence walked hand in hand, one man rose with imperial dreams and fell into damnation. A funny thing that I've discovered about the leader of the vampire gang is his name. Once known as Caesar Baranius Laurentius, a Roman senator, nobleman, and future consul until immortality shattered his trajectory and remade him into something far darker, he took the name Brencis, which is Slavic by origin. I was a bit surprised to see this reference to Slavic culture and dug deeper to understand why this name was chosen. My swift research revealed that the name Brencis traces back to the Slavic word breza. I was like, okay, and continued reading. The next words were breza means laurel. In ancient Rome, a laurel crown, also known as bay leaf wreath, was a symbol of triumph and victory. It was often worn by victorious generals during their triumphs and by Roman emperors. The tradition of wearing laurel crowns dates back to Greek mythology and was adopted by the Romans. By the way, if you haven't seen the analysis of our Greek granny Xanthi, please watch it next, it's quite interesting. So, back to the topic. Everything looks pretty smooth, right? Brencis symbolizes the one who is crowned with laurel or bay leaves, signifying a person of great accomplishment and honor. It fits into the concept of him being a Roman, and Brencis humors us by accepting this Slavic name. And everything could be fine, but I'm Slavic, and I was like, what? Breza is not a laurel tree, it's a birch. I double-checked it because, well, who knows, maybe some cultures use birch as bay leaves, I don't know, but no. I guess there was a slight misunderstanding because the creators of Brencis's character were confused about his Roman persona and the name because they trusted English written sources. Is it a big tragedy? No. Did I notice the lack of fact-checking? Yeah, I guess now he'll always be Brencis the Birch for me. But hey, the idea was really cool. Maybe I missed something. I'm just a human after all. Leave a comment if you know for sure that breza means bay leaf tree somewhere in the Carpathians. In the Blood of Dawnwalker, Brencis is more than a relic of Rome. He is a force that bridges the brilliance of classical civilization with the blood-soaked chaos of a vampire-ridden 14th century. Let's explore this concept art, heraldic choices, and the results of his post-human transformation to understand the essence of a man who never stopped reaching for power, even after death. Born in 131 AD, Brencis was bred for command. His family owned a vast landed estate in ancient Rome with slaves. This thing alone would have put Brencis and his family among the richest of the Roman elite. His noble status wasn't just decorative, it shaped his mind and soul. His entire life was likely spent in the pursuit of social respect, influence, and legacy. These were not abstract ideals to a Roman senator, they were the very fabric of his identity. Brencis' ambition to become consul suggests an intelligent, strategic thinker deeply familiar with the complicated politics of late Rome. That makes his transformation into a vampire all the more tragic and fascinating. It's a reversal of fortune in the most literal mythic sense. From the halls of power to the underworld of monsters, Brencis' fall is less a punishment and more a redirection. One that channels his ruthless intellect into a new kind of empire, one built on blood, fear, rituals, and immortality. What makes Brencis so compelling is the way his story intersects two timelines, Imperial Rome and the apocalyptic 14th century in the Carpathians. Historically, 131 AD was still part of Rome's golden era. The 14th century, by contrast, was a time of collapse, plague, and death in Europe. Brencis bridges these worlds like a cursed Caesar. When vampires emerge in Dawnwalker's alternative history, it's not just horror, it's an ideological invasion. Brencis brings with him not only physical strength, but some kind of a Roman ideals. Order through dominance, legacy through blood, and control through heraldry and hierarchy. A funny thing that you can find on Dawnwalker Discord server is a message from Dawnwalker bot saying Brencis is your shepherd, among other things. Everything about Brencis, his backstory, his speeches, armor, and emblems aren't just personal expression. It's propaganda, where he is not just a leader, but a savior of divine origin. If we continue reading everything that Dawnwalker bot left for us about Brencis, it gets really curious. I know many of you resent our Knaus Brencis, for he drinks our blood. Isn't the shepherd to be rewarded for his care? Isn't he to be fed? Remember the times before his coming: plague, war, famine, death round every corner. Knaus Brencis heard our cries, our helpless bleating, and he came to our aid, healed us. He shears his sheep, he milks the lambs, and sometimes he slaughters them too. He guides them to the stream so that they can drink, and when the night falls, he lights a fire so that they can sleep in peace. This is what the shepherd gives, but the shepherd also takes. Is bleeding one lamb a steep price to pay for the safety of the whole flock? Brencis is your shepherd. He cares for you, he guards you. However, for your protection, you must pay. And then there's a creepy verse in Latin that can be translated as, "When we were weak, you gave us strength. When we were desperate, you gave us hope. When we were sick, you gave us medicine. We will return all your gifts to you. Drink from us as we drink from you." Brencis didn't build his personal Roman Empire, he nourished a cult. In a world where kingdoms are crumbling and people are dying by the thousands, Brencis' iron grip may seem like a form of salvation, or at least predictability. Most people like predictability as it is a manifestation of stability, which is often followed by some form of peace. But Brencis' salvation doesn't come from a benevolent order, it's ruled by monsters enforced through fear and ritual that many people have accepted, following their shepherd in obedience. Brencis' concept art presents a disturbing blend of dignity and decay. His look has changed dramatically since the times of his concept art till the trailer version. The picture of his flesh is sickly, papery grey with sunken eyes and visible deformations frozen in a forever rotting state. There are ulcers on his scalp and he's not bald like we saw in the trailer. If you're still watching this video, you earned the right to see Redhead Brencis. This masterpiece is a local meme on Dawnwalker Discord server made by Lord Dracula himself. Alas, we probably will never see Brencis with any hair because his final appearance has been smoothed up to the radiant shine of his smooth scalp. Well, you know, we could have had better, could have had worse. I quite like this version. Anyway, his armor, on the other hand, has more texture and details. His armor, though archaic and ceremonial, is functional. It is spiked, grim, and stylized to reflect medieval authority, appropriate for a vampire leader who adapted to a new era without shedding his imperial ambition. His belt and robes still carry patterns tending to remind us of Roman mosaic, suggesting a desire to preserve his legacy through visual language. I can see little resemblance with Roman armor as we know it. It looks pretty medieval to me and very much similar to Umbris's with his chainmail and chestplate. This could mean that apart from the other vampires in his gang, Brencis cares little about his authentic clothes and chooses something more modern, while his imperial values and beliefs are solidified in his core. On the left, we can see the original color scheme, rich, bronze and black that evoke a noble look. The stylized dragon across his chest is no coincidence. I think it's a distorted version of the Roman Aquila, a battle standard once borne by legions. Except here, the eagle has become a double-headed dragon because, you know, Romania, Dracula, dragons, a typical mix and process of multiple references for new concept art. And this dragon is likely Brencis's personal crest, reimagined version of the imperial power he once wielded. The jagged W-like pattern at its center appears again here and on Ambris's armor. It could suggest vampire teeth or a direct lineage, mentorship, house allegiance. Brencis likely founded this vampiric clan, which Ambris is now supporting. Last time we spoke about Umbris, by the way, we collectively decided that it's a dragon on his chest. Brencis's emblem looks like an older variation of the same symbol that Umbris is wearing on his armor. It could make sense that Brencis reimagined the symbol of his native land to start his own lineage, which the Romans could call a house, if they all lived together. I guess it's obvious now that Rebel Wolves played with the concept of ancient Rome and showed that Brencis drags his past with him everywhere he goes. Xanthi and Bakir don't wear this brand mark, as far as I remember, which could mean that they are less interested in symbolism or that they have separate houses with different motivations. What is obvious is that both Brencis and Ambrose share a love for heraldic emblems. The second, grey version of the armor strips away the vibrancy, leaving a ghost of a man Brencis could be. Considering that I studied concept art, the grey picture could mean that it's just another option for the developers that they could choose from for Brencis's final image, or his transformation at some point in the game. Still, we can see that Brencis is a creature of pure intention, where every detail is a symbol of his personal values. The armor's spiked pauldrons, chainmail, and the detailed, almost ceremonial blade worn at his hip reinforce that Brencis is no idle noble. He is a commander, a strategist, a founder of clans in this new vampire order. Now let's zoom on the emblem. The symmetrical double-headed shape mirrors the ancient Roman eagle, as I said, which was a standard of imperial pride and control. But Brencis replaces the eagle with a beast of fire and shadow. The dragon not only symbolizes domination, but also transformation and destruction. And critically, it has two heads. This duality could reflect several layers: the mortal and immortal Brencis, the Rome of his birth, and the new vampire world he helped forge, or even his inner split between discipline and monstrous hunger. Choose whatever option you like, really. The detail that this symbol reappears in a more refined form on Ambrose's armor implies a generational continuation. Ambrose's version is sleeker, almost regal, suggesting that this emblem has evolved much like Brencis's legacy. Xanthi and Bakir notably do not wear the symbol, which could suggest Brencis's obsession with order and heritage is not shared by all vampires. It tells us that Brencis sees vampirism not just as a survival, but civilization. His own twisted version of it, at least. So what does Brencis want now? His human ambition to become consul was interrupted. But ambition doesn't die with the body. In the vampire world, the idea of House Brencis may be his resurrection of that dream. He couldn't rule Rome as a man, so he will reshape the world as an immortal. And this theory could scratch the surface of the biggest mystery for many of us. Why did vampires invade and transform a small region instead of the whole world? Brencis didn't have the idea of world domination over mortals. It could be that his psychological profile is based on three patterns, which are parasitic existence, manipulation, and a strong belief in his right of superiority. Brencis likely recruits not with brute force, but with ideology and vision, offering converts a place in his new empire. He may style himself as a messianic figure, a bringer of order to the chaos of plague-ridden Europe. This obsession with symbolism, armor, and control suggests a man trying to impose a system where chaos reigns because his poor lambs simply don't know better. We don't know yet how far Brencis's influence stretches, but if the dawn of the vampire age begins with creatures like Brencis stepping out of the shadows, then this story is not about personal tragedy. It's a founding myth, one that other vampires may revere, fear, or rebel against. Alright guys, let's start a discussion. I think that Brencis is a cautionary tale and a power fantasy all in one. A man who lost everything and rebuilt it in the chaos of a plagued world because it was a good opportunity to seize the moment for vampire kind. In the Blood of Dawnwalker, he is not merely a villain in his archetype. He is a founder, which represents a ruler, a father that can be seen as the caregiver archetype, but let me know what you think about his character. If you enjoyed this analysis, please support this channel through membership or leave a comment about which character, monster or location you'd like to learn next. I have already done Ambrose, Bakir and Xanthi, and I can't wait to see what we can learn from Cohen's concept art when it's out. So let's hope it will land soon, and that's it for today, guys. Have fun, play video games, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!